Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to do another itty bitty knit kit from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we're doing another viewer request. This is called Dill with It. Who loves pickles? Click the like button if you do, because I know I do. You guys, I am barely keeping up with this itty bitty knit sensation here. The kits are all cute. I am going to be doing an unboxing for another huge Five Below haul of these itty bitty knit kits. So you're going to be able to see what kits I'm going to be doing after the Halloween ones. It's insane. So, if you'd like for me to do a kit and you don't want to wait for me to find them, go ahead and send me a clear image of the instructions and send it to me via email. My information is in this video in the description box or on my channel in the About section. Alright, so let's get straight into this. This box comes with stuffing, knitting needles, plastic needle, a couple of spools of yarn, and felt stickers. So this video is a supplement to the kit. If you really want to make this yourself, I highly recommend that you go to your local Five Below or check on their website to get these kits. I do go over new stitches at least 3 times step by step, and then I go my normal pace thereafter. So if at any time in this video you want to speed up or slow down the video, click on the gear button in the corner. They have playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you can lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so here are the spools of yarn. I love green, so this is going to be nice and fun to make. Again, and I also like pickles. So here's the stuffing, here's the knitting needles, plastic needle, and then we have our felt sticker. So since we don't need these right now, I'm going to put them back in the pouch to keep them nice and clean of debris and so that I don't lose them. But we're going to go now and check out the instructions. I love these instructions. Do I really read them? No. But if you're a beginner, they do have contents. They have illustrations and text on how to do everything that I'm going to be doing. The way that I do it is going to be slightly different from the booklet. So if you'd rather follow the booklet, go ahead and do that. If you want to follow me, that's fine as well. The one other thing I like about this is that it comes with a ruler so that you don't have to go and get one. All right. So this is the knitting needles. If you have any like plastic things sticking up, like there's a little one here, but I don't think it'll be that bad. I'll do it anyway. It might catch on the yarn. So what you want to do is take a nail file and just file that off. It doesn't have to be smooth or anything. Just want to make sure that that little plastic isn't sticking up, because then it'll rip your yarn. So check the other one too. It's usually down this end because that's where they inject their melted plastic in the die, the mold, to make the needles. And that happens with any... I used to temporarily work at this place that did wax injections, and they always had stuff sticking out that we would have to melt down. But anyway, alrighty. So we're gonna make in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles. We're gonna start with the light green one, and when you get nice big spools like this, I've been lucky. They've been kind enough to have the inside end stick out. In the previous videos, I would just get in there, grab a chunk, and do it that way, but I've been finding the end to come out. And see, like when you do this, it won't roll around, which is why I like it. So try to get it like this. Get it from inside. Even if you have to rip out the chunk to find the other end, I would do that. And then you can put a little paperweight or something, and you can start grabbing without having it move or roll on you. All right, so what I'm going to do off camera is that you have to measure a tail. I cannot show the instructions due to copyright reasons, so I'm going to measure this tail off camera. We're going to come back in and we're going to start doing this project. All right, so I have here pinched the tail length that we need. So for the tail, I don't want to accidentally mix it up with the feeder yarn, so I'm going to take the tail and pull it downward off my table. I'm going to take the feeder yarn and pull it up out of the way, and now we can just focus on this part here. Pinch this very tightly, you don't want to lose it. You want to take your middle and ring finger, and we're just going to hold it apart like this. Then you want to take your two fingers, and we'll have this one tight, this one kind of loose. We're going to take our two fingers and lift this up and turn it down to make a loop. Then I'm going to take my index and middle finger, and I'm going to grab the feeder yarn, and we're going to be pulling that through to make a huge loop. All right, so now what you can do here is pull this top part out while pushing the knot towards the thumb. You don't want to pull this bottom end because it's attached to the feeder yarn, and it's not gonna make the knot closer to your thumb, because the idea is you want the knot to be as close to that tail mark so that there's less yarn waste. And if you've seen my videos, sometimes they don't give us enough yarn, so the less waste, the better. So I'm going to pull this top part here while I'm pushing the knot towards my thumb, and keep doing that until you can no longer move this knot, because either your thumb's in the way or the knot is already too tight to push down. If there's a little bit of a gap, that's fine. It's better to have a little gap than a huge gap. So right now I can't push this anymore because my thumb's in the way. I'm gonna take my thumb and index and just pull a little bit more. You don't have to pull too crazy, like just a little bit to get that little bit of yarn in that knot to make it nice and snug. Then I'm going to grip the knot right here, and now we have this huge loop. So what you want to do is pull this yarn here to make your loop more manageable. And this is the feeder yarn. So keep pulling until you can fit 2 needles in there. Stick your 2 needles in the loop, and then you just did a slip knot. Okay, so keep the tail down here, feeder yarn up here. Now, the good thing about these kits is that they only use 1 stitch in knitting, and it's one of the basic stitches in knitting, and it's actually one of my favorites. Once you learn this 1 stitch, as you find in this project, you can end up making pot holders, scarves, blankets, runners, stuff like that. So let's start it. Okay, we have to cast. It tells you to cast on stitches. So when you're knitting, you want to get into your knit position, and your knit position is basically Xing your needles. You want your left needle on top and then your right needle on the bottom. Okay, and then when we're doing a knit stitch, you don't want your feeder yarn up front. You want it towards the back. So make sure your feeder yarn's in the back. When we do our knit stitch, casting on of stitches, however you want to call it, we're going to go back to forward around the right needle. So you want your needles in an X constantly touching. Even when you stop to pause, some people will wrap the feeder yarn around their needles so that they don't separate, because if they separate, you can lose. See, if there's a gap, you can lose stitches. So always keep contact with your needles. So what we're going to do with this feeder yarn, you're going to go back to forward, and then we're going to go down, and you're going to feel or hear it snap because the needles are always touching. Okay. We want this feeder yarn stuck in that little tiny triangle space created by your X'd needles, constantly touching, the very smallest surface touching. All right. So from here, what you want to do is slide the left needle down the right and down its back, again, constantly touching the needles together because that's going to force the feeder yarn through the loop. Oh, let it go. All right, let's do this again. Make sure it's touching. Slide the left needle down the right needle, and it's going to push. It's like not today. Push a new stitch through that loop. All right. So from here, we're going to transfer this stitch over to the left by taking your left, slipping it through this stitch on the right and lifting it off the right needle. So now you have 2 stitches on your left. All right, I'm going to do this 2 more times, you guys. That first time didn't want me to create a new stitch. All right, put your needle into the new stitch here. Get into your knit position, right needle in the back, left needle on top, feeder yarn in the back. We're going to wrap around the right needle, back to front, and then down. You're going to feel or hear it snap to get into this little hole there. Then we're going to slide the left down the right and towards the back. All right, sorry, I had the feeder go on. Okay, so slide the left down the right and down its back. It's going to force the feeder yarn through the loop, creating a new stitch. Then we're going to transfer the stitch over to the left side by taking your left needle, sticking it through that new stitch, lifting it off the right, and now we have 3 stitches here. Let's do this one more time. So stick your needle into the lightest stitch here, get into your knit position, right needle in the back, left needle on top, feeder yarn in the back. We're going to go back to forward around the right needle, and then we're going to go down. You're going to feel or hear it snap to get into that little space there. Then we're going to slide the left down the right and down its back, and that's going to push. Oh my Lord. Yep. I lost it. Back to forward and down. Slide the left down the right, down the back, pushing the feeder yarn through the loop to create a new stitch. Then we're going to transfer this stitch onto the left by taking the left needle, lifting it off the right, and now we have 4 stitches. I'm going to do this 3 more times because this didn't go as smoothly. So, but what a good example. Like my feeder yarn slipped. I didn't have it touching all the way, and the first time it was weird. It didn't want to. So let's just do another 3 with you guys. Stick the needle into the latest stitch there. Go back to forward and down. Feel it snap. Right, slide the left down the right to create a new stitch. Then transfer the new stitch over to the left needle. And now we have 5 stitches. Let's do 2 more with you guys. Stick the needle into the newest stitch here. Go back to forward and down. Slide the left down the right and down its back, creating a new stitch. Transfer the new stitch over to the left by picking it up and removing it off the right needle. So now we have 6. Let's do one more. Stick your right needle into the new stitch here. Take your feeder yarn back to forward and down. You're going to feel it snap. Then slide the left down the right and down its back. It's going to force the feeder yarn through the stitch, creating a new one. And we're going to transfer that to the left by picking it up and removing it off the right. Okay, so now we have 7 stitches. I'm going to go ahead, you guys, and finish the rest of the stitches, and then we're going to come back and do the next row. You can rewind this part until you're comfortable making the stitches on your own, or again, you can speed up or slow down the video clicking on the gear button. There's playback options to go faster or slow. Alright, so always double check that you have the right amount of stitches. Okay, and then once we've done that, I'm going to show you the next steps. Alright, just to go over first some tips. When we're holding this in our hands, there's a possibility of your project twisting. And ideally what you want is your project to grow downward. So to do that and not accidentally knit the next row and twist it, I've done that. You want to keep your project down by straightening the line of stitches. So when you look at the bottom, you should be able to see a nice straight line. And then when you look on top, all you see is the stitches. The other tip that I want to tell you is that you want to keep your feeder yarn down and back. This will show correctly if you have that straight line. Now sometimes, and I've done this in the beginning where in the end it kept adding one extra and I couldn't figure out why. Don't hold your yarn up and back, because right away you can see that it's twisting. But when it twists, it kind of creates an extra loop, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is make sure you keep your feeder yarn down and back. Alright, let me gather up some yarn here. I like to put a lot of yarn around my finger. You don't need to do that. I believe the booklet shows you the less barbaric way of holding your feeding yarn. I just don't do it. I've always done it this way. Okay, so from here, we had the needle this way, and this was our left, right? Now what we're going to do is just switch the needles. You're going to take your left needle, move it to your right hand, and then the right needle, we're just going to flip over to the left. And again, feeder yarn down and back, and we can pick up our new right needle, formerly known as the left needle. Alright, so like I said, all this is the same stitch over and over again, so it's not that complicated once you get it down. So what we're going to do is stick your needle into the first stitch here, get into your knit position, and we're going to go back to front and down. You're going to feel it here at snap to get into that little space there. Then we're going to slide the left down the right and down its back to create a new stitch. Now instead of transferring this stitch over to the left needle, we're going to remove the stitch that we used to create it. So carefully slide down your stitches. You want to slide it down enough so you can just flick this stitch off. So in this instruction specifically, because it could be different from other kits and other projects, you want to keep the same number of stitches you started with on the left needle, and we're just going to create new stitches on the right needle that's the same count. So let's do this again. Stick your needle into the next stitch here, get into your knit position. We're going to go back to front and down, and we're going to slide this left needle down the right needle and down its back, creating a new stitch. And then rather than transfer the stitches, we're going to just remove the stitch that we used on the left off the needle. So now we have 2 stitches on the right, 2 less stitches on the left. So let's do this one more time with you guys. Stick your needle into the next stitch here. Get into your knit stitch position. Your feed of yarn to the back. Wrap around the right, back to front and down. You're going to feel or hear it snap to get into that little hole there. Then slide the left down the right and down its back, creating a new stitch. And then we're going to remove this stitch we used off the left needle. So now we have 3 stitches on the right, 3 less stitches on the left. Okay, so we are going to I'm just going to do the rest in silence, and it's pretty much straightforward. It's the same thing over and over again, which is good about this project. I'm going to come back in to show you how to cast off, but what you want to do now is keep doing the rows until you reach the measurement that it says in the instructions using the ruler. And again, I'll come back in and we'll cast off the rectangle. Alright, so I don't have much green left. And I'm probably shy the length about, I don't know, maybe ½ an inch. So, oh well. I'm going to show you how to cast off. I just don't understand. Comment below, let me know if you're running out of yarn too. It's a little disappointing. Alright. Now let's cast off. So to cast off, you want to have 2 stitches on your right needle at all times. So let's knit 2 stitches. Alright, to cast off, we're going to leapfrog this stitch over this stitch, and then we're going to remove it off the right needle and off the left needle. So let me show you how that's done. Pick up this stitch here. We're going to leapfrog it over the next. You can take your thumb just to hold it down to make sure you don't lose it. But we want to slip this stitch off the right needle, and then we're going to slip it off the left needle. So now we're just left with this one. And like I said, we always have to have 2 stitches here to do the cast off. So let's knit another stitch. And then we are back to having 2 stitches on the right needle. So let's do this again. Pick up this stitch here. We're going to leapfrog it over this one. You can use your thumb to kind of hold that stitch down so you don't lose it. Remove this stitch off the right needle and off the left needle. And then we're back to 1 stitch again. So one more time with you guys. Let's knit another stitch. So we have 2 stitches on this right needle again. We're going to pick up this stitch here, and we're going to leapfrog it over the next. You can hold down that stitch with your thumb. We're going to remove the stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle. Alright, so I'm going to finish the rest of these stitches until we have 1 stitch left on the right needle. You can rewind this part until you're comfortable doing it on your own. But yeah, I'm going to try to get this done at my own pace here. Alright, so I've done most of those stitches. I'm left with 1 stitch. What do we do? We're going to yarn over. So take your feeder yarn, we're going to yarn over the right needle. Then we're going to pick up this stitch and leapfrog it over the yarn over. You can use your thumb to hold it down. We're going to pull that stitch off the right and off the left. So now we're still left with 1 loop, but what I'm going to do is pull this all the way out. If you still have a lot left, I would recommend cutting it about 1 inch or so that you're not pulling forever. But once you pull that through, you can tighten up the knot by just pulling on it like this. So now we have our first rectangle. I'm gonna go and do the next rectangle on camera because we're going to be using a different color. I think just for video time purposes, since it's pretty much the same for the next, after we do this one, the next rectangle, it's only like 1, 2, 3 more rectangles left. It's fairly the same, and they're much smaller, so that should be easy for you guys to handle. And then we'll come back in and sew everything together. Okay, so when you get spools like this, I'm not a fan of it, but we just have to unravel this, and then we have to deal with any tangles, any rolling. It's just not my, not how I like to have these spools of yarn, but maybe I can find a way to grab the inside, which is what this, okay. So this one is the outside yarn. You can tell because it's on the outside. I'm going to use this to wrap that back up. But this yarn that I pulled, it's pulling from the inside. So if I keep this nice and flat, I hope that it won't get tangled. So we'll see. All right. So off camera, I'm going to measure the tail, and I'm going to use this. I don't want to waste anything because I'm afraid of running out of yarn. Oh, and by the way, if you've seen my previous videos of me running out of white, I did go to the Dollar Tree, and I did get myself a little spool of white. So I should be okay with any of the other projects if I ever run out of white. So I just thought I'd mention that because it was a struggle the past few videos. Alright, so I have my tail here. Gonna leave that down and off the table. Got my feeder yarn. I'm gonna push that up and out of the way. Pinch this really hard. We're going to take the middle finger and ring finger and hold this apart. You can keep this kind of loose. Take 2 fingers here. We're going to lift up. We're going to turn it down to create this loop. Then with the index and the middle finger, we're going to grab the feeder yarn and pull it through that loop to create a large knot. Then I'm going to start pulling this top piece here, not the bottom one down here. But as I'm pulling this top piece, I'm going to be pushing the knot towards my thumb, thus creating less waste of yarn, and I definitely need it. If there's a little gap, that's fine, you know, as long as it's not like a huge gap. But yeah, so once you hit a stopping point, then you can take your thumb and index and just pull the tail a little bit more to get that knot nice and snug. You don't have to pull it too hard. We're going to grab the knot right here, and then I'm going to pull this slowly until a loop forms, and 2 needles can fit in there like this. Alright, and you can tighten this up if you want. I'm going to grab some of this feeder yarn. Now we have to cast on the stitches. Get into your knit position and make your knit stitches. We're going to knit, stitch, and we're going to transfer over to the left needle. Okay, and we've gone over this kind of, you know, 3 times already, if not more, because I couldn't get it right the first time. But I will do this slow for a little bit so you can kind of, you know, see what I'm doing again in case you forgot. But it's pretty much, like I said, the same stitch over and over again, with the exception of the beginning where we have to just transfer the new stitch over to the left stitch. So I'm just going to complete this all the way down for the required stitches that the instruction tells you to do. I actually stopped counting. Goodness gracious. Let me just see. Always double check how many stitches you have on here before you move on to the next part, and then always double count. It's the same as woodworking, measure twice, cut once kind of deal. So just make sure you got the right amount of stitches twice. All right, and like I said, make sure your project is growing downward and it's not twisting. But now we're going to move on to the next row, and in case you forgot, all it is doing knit stitches, but instead of casting it onto the left, we're just going to remove the stitch we used off the left, because whatever number is on the left side, we want to create the same number of new stitches on the right side. So we're going to knit one and remove one, knit one and remove one, knit one and remove one, and just keep following that until you're down the whole row. And then after that, I'm gonna go and do the rest in silence. And like I said, the remaining squares I'll do off camera. They're much smaller, so if you really do need to go back to see the step-by-step on the knit stitches, then by all means do that. But yeah, they're so small, so you should be able to get it done. All right, so we're done with that. We're going to flip this over, make sure that it's straight every single time so that you don't accidentally knit while it's twisting. But yeah, I'm going to do this in silence. Okay, so I knitted to the length that it needs to be, and now I'm going to cast off again, and I'll show you guys how to do that. It's looking like there's more of this color than there was with the other, so it's just a little disappointing. But all right, I'm going to show you one more time how to cast off in case you've forgotten. So we got to knit 2 stitches. You always want 2 stitches on the right needle to do the cast off. We're going to lift this stitch here, and we're going to leapfrog it over this stitch. You can hold down that stitch with your thumb there, because we're going to remove this off the right needle and then off the left needle. So we're down to 1 stitch on here. So we've got to do another knit stitch. Once you've done that, we're going to pick up this stitch now and leapfrog it over this one. We're going to hold it down with our thumb, remove this stitch off the right needle, and remove it off the left needle. Back to 1. Alright, one more time, you guys. We're going to knit another stitch here. We're going to pick up this stitch, leapfrog it over this one. You can hold it down with your thumb while we remove this stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle. So I'm going to continue this now at my own pace. You can rewind the video until you're comfortable doing this on your own. Okay, you'll be left with 1 stitch on your right needle. I'm going to cut about 1 inch or so, and then we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to leapfrog this stitch over the yarn over, off the right, off the left needle, and then I'm going to pull the right needle till the yarn is all the way out from that loop, and we're going to tighten it up by just pulling on this piece here, and we have our second rectangle. So we have 1 here, 1 here. Now what we have to do is do the remaining 3 rectangles, and like I said, they're so tiny. I'm sure you'll be able to just rewind the video if you need to go back to the step-by-step, but I'm going to do the 3 on my own off camera, and then we'll come back in and we'll start assembling the pickle. Okay, so I have my rectangles all made. Now we're going to sew this all together. So go into your pouch, get your plastic needle, and we're going to start with the light green. Oh, I guess I never cut off the tail. Which side am I on? Okay. Oops. Thread up your needle here. I am going to go in and cut about 1 inch or so off that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is find the prettier side of your rectangle, and I'm going to use this side because it's better than this side. This side, there's that line from the beginning, so we're going to fold the rectangle this way, long ways, prettier side inside, and then we're going to start sewing this together. So take your needle and just line up your rows, and we're going to sew it over the edge. All right. It says you can flip this inside out, but what I'm going to do first is just close off one side, just so that I make sure that all the stitching remains on the wrong side. So what we're going to do is go in and out of some stitches all around the edge here. All the way around. Okay, and then we're going to pull this so that the hole can be entirely gone. And then you got to be careful with how much you pull, because you don't want to pull the side. But I'm going to do, to make sure that this hole in the center doesn't reopen, I'm just going to then sew in and out of that little edge. And then I'm going to tie a knot, double knot. Okay, so we have our one end of the pickle. So now I'm going to flip this inside out. So when we flip it inside out, it'll be seamless, kind of. All right. So now we have to put the stuffing in. So get your pouch, pull out the stuffing. You can kind of shape this already so that when you put this in the pickle, it's already in the shape of, or you can take it piece by piece and stuff the pickle that way. That way you can make sure that you get the right proportions of the pickle and not everything is bunching in the middle or the end. And I just don't know if I'm going to need this, so I'm just kind of keeping this out. We can always tuck it back in if we don't need it. So I think we have to put the whole thing. Let me just look ahead to see if that is correct. Okay. Oh my gosh. It looks so cute. Okay. So I am going to need this because we're going to sew this closed. So like we did before, let's insert the needle on this edge now. Be careful how much you pull, because if you pull it, you're gonna, I guess you could make it look like a real cucumber kind of, because it has a natural bend. Maybe I'll do that. You can keep it straight if you like, but I'm gonna pull it a little bit, right? And then what I'm gonna do is go around another stitch and I'm gonna tie a knot so that I don't lose this definition here. And again, you don't have to do it that way, but I think it'll look cute if we keep a natural bend of a cucumber. Okay. Then I'm going to go in and out of the edge just like we did before. Okay, and once you get to the other side, we can then do the gather stitch here by just pulling until the hole is gone. And again, careful how you pull it if you don't want to pull it too much here. But just to secure this hole, I'm going to go in and out of this little edge here. And then I'm gonna tie my knot. And then I'm gonna go into one end here and out a random spot on the other side. We're gonna pull this all the way through. And then I'm gonna trim this flush to the surface. And to hide that end, you just have to squeeze it and it'll disappear in there. So I got my little bend. Now we have to sew the beret together. These are going to be the arms. Let's see. Let's thread this up. Okay, we're gonna pick the prettier side, I think. Or maybe the prettier side. Okay, let's put the bad side on the inside, the good side on the outside, and we're just going to sew the edge together. Okay, so I don't want the sides to pull. There's not much width to this. So I'm just going to take this excess piece and double knot it. That way, when I pull, it's not going to pull the sides. Okay, then I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go in and out of the edge because we're going to bunch this up together like we did before. Okay, and once we get to the other side, I'm going to pull this and bunch it like we did before. And then to make sure that this is secure and not so holy, I'm going to sew this small edge here together. And then once I've done that, I'm going to tie my knot. Okay, then I'm going to go in one side and then out the other on the inside here. And I might need this later, but we're going to work on the small rectangle now. So I'm going to remove the needle and thread up the needle with the small square. All right, then we have to fold this in half. So there's not much here, so find the prettier side. It's going to go on the outside. I'm going to try to tuck this piece in here and then fold it in half and then sew it together. Alright, so once I've done that, I think I want this side to be on the bottom and this shorter side on top. So I'm just going to go back down the side. Okay, and then we just have to sew this on the top of this beret. And I'm just sewing around the edge. So once I have that, I'm going to go tie my knot. I'm actually just going to go in here and I'll tie it to the other one. So I'm just going to roll this inside out. Oh, I could tie it to this. I'm going to double knot it. Then flip this inside out again. Alright, then we have to sew the beret onto the pickle. So there's not much explanation there, but we want to make it look like, you know, in the photo there's an actual bend to it too. So pick the nice side. This is, maybe should go to the back. And then this is rounder than this side, so maybe the beret should go to the top so it kind of covers that. And I'm going to sew this probably along one of the rows here, and then I'm going to try to squish it down so that it looks like a beret. Alright, now I'm all the way around to the other side. I'm gonna scrunch this down and see what it's looking like. I might have to go back around and just put a few stitches to keep this beret down, if that makes any sense. So Once I've reached the other side, I can tie my knot. And then I'm going to go in, stick my needle in one way and then out a random spot, cut it flush, and then squish it. So we kind of have something going on here. Okay. So now we have to sew the arms on. So we're going to take one of these skinny ones, thread it up. Alright, let me just double check if we have to fold it or anything. Yeah, no, they're just simple stitching. Alright, let me do this first. You want to take that short piece and we're going to thread it up, and I'm just going to go in and out of the length of the arm so I can hide it. Okay, and then you can just cut off if the rest if it's too long. Alright, then I'm going to thread up the arm. And find your front. We're going to stick the arm, oh, this is a long arm. Okay, where you think it should be. And we're going to sew this on here. Okay, once we have that in, I'm going to just tie my knot. Oh, what am I doing? Then stick it through one end, go out randomly on the other side somewhere, pull it. I'm going to cut this flush with the surface and then squish it to make that side disappear. So here's our first arm. I'm going to hide that short end into the arm like I did with the other one. And we're just going to go in and out of the sides here. And then cut this off. I'm going to thread up the needle. And we're going to sew on the other side. Now what you want to do is just make sure it's at the same level so you can use the row. And then just make sure that it's kind of in the same spacing, like you don't want it too close to the front. Alright, I lost it. Then I'm going to go in and tie my knot. Then go in one side and out the other. Cut just over the surface. Squeeze it. Alright, we're almost there, you guys. Alright, so take your felt stickers and we are going to remove the mouth first so that we can center that. And then it should be easier to place the eyes after. We have our mouth here. So you want to stick this where you want to have your face. There. And then you want to pinch the sticker down onto your cucumber with firmness so that you can make sure that the adhesive is sticking to as much of the yarn as possible. It does say that you can sew around the mouth with some embroidery floss if you have it. I don't do that. It's a little time consuming and I hate to sew. And then we're going to do the eyes. Okay, so place your eyes where you think they should be. Pinch them down as well. And then just make sure your other eye kind of lines up where it needs to be. Pinch and hold down. Okay, so we have our finished pickle, you guys. Comment below, let me know what you think. I wanted to take this opportunity to share some really cool information with you guys. I know a lot of us need help out there, and I normally try to help out as best I can. But my original channel, I'll leave the link in the description box below, is holding a giveaway. So I think it'd be helpful if you decide to go there and subscribe. You have to be a public subscriber, but there'll be 2 winners, one nail winner and one craft winner. And the craft winner is gonna take home some goodies, a gift card, as well as a 1-hour one-on-one StreamYard session with me, so you can have your phone set up like this. It's easy as clicking on a link, setting your station like this with your phone, and showing me some projects that you're working on that you might be stuck on, or if you want to learn how to knit, we can do that. Or if you are inspired to start your own channel or currently have one and need some advice, we can use the 1-hour session for that. But I have the rules in the description box below, so go ahead and check that out. I will be doing Halloween kits for now. I think I have 7 of them. So I'm going to do all of them, and then once I finish that, I am going to pick it back up with my list. I have viewer requests. I'm going to do cup of tea and then acorn, and then I will be doing an unboxing, so you're going to see all the other ones that I have to do for November, December. But like I said, for now, we're going to jump into the Halloween kits. I really hope that you look into them. Again, check at your local Five Below, or on your on the Five Below website. They have some really cute Halloween, well, not cute Halloween gifts. They're kits. They're pretty. They're supposed to be scary, but all right. At any rate, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.